Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the brand new Japanese tier 10 tech tree tank destroyer, the Ho-Ri 3. Now as always, if you do like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Ho-Ri 3, this is the new pinnacle of the tech tree, right? It's the top of the tree. It's the tank that everybody is going to be wanting to get as they progress up the Japanese tech tree because, well, it's the tier 10 and it's what you want to be going for, right? And the Ho-Ri 3, to be honest, I've fairly enjoyed the tank. I think it's a pretty well balanced tank. It's got okay-ish mobility. It's not the best at 35 kilometers an hour. The gun is lovely. It's pretty damn accurate. It doesn't take too long to aim in. The the aim circle doesn't really bloom out that much, so you're pretty much always ready to go. The alpha damage is 700, which is not the highest in the universe, but it's also not the lowest. And you got a 3.5k DPM with the build that I've got, which just basically keeps the rounds slapping out, which is definitely very nice. And the armor on the tank as well is okay. I'd say it's exactly the same as the tier 9. If you saw the video on the tier 9, I think I said that the armor is good until it's not. And that is exactly the same as the Ho-Ri 3. In that, if you're facing guns that are firing pen, rounds with less than 300 pen, your armor's pretty good. But as soon as they fire 300 plus pen, your armor starts to go, owie! And they start to, penetrate the armor quite a lot. And you go, oh, but I was doing so well. And that's just the way it goes for the Ho-Ri 3. I do think the Ho-Ri 3 does suffer from a problem that generally a lot of the tier 10 tank destroyers are just quite a lot better because they all have similar pen, probably fairly similar ability, similar camo, and then also the fact that they just get like 850 alpha, stuff like that. I do feel like this is a fairly well balanced tank, and this is probably more realistically what we want our TDs to be like. But yeah, because it's one of those things for me. Like I still feel like, and I always have felt like the 850 alpha TD should probably still be like we should be more like PC in regards to our TDs, right? And they should be like 750. Lower it down so that the DPM isn't quite as good on them, and they don't hit for like 3/4 of your hit points within 2 shots, which is definitely pain. But anyway, I digress. That's TDs as it is. And the Ho-Ri 3 is definitely quite a fun little tank to play. It's a challenging tank to play. That's what I like about it as well. Generally, is the fact that if you play it right, you can get a lot out of it, and that can be really quite fun. But you've got to play it right, and you've got to figure it out to get the most out of it. It's not just point and click, It's not just take the tank out and you can just face plant the tank into things and have a laugh because it will just boss everything. It can be a bit of a challenge to get what you want out of it, but again, it's putting yourself in the right positions and just farming away pretty much. Because that's the thing, this tank can play that aggressive playstyle because you have the armor to ricochet shots, but you have to be careful about what you're facing because obviously it's not always going to work out. If you're attacking a corner that's got E4s on it, or tanks with that sort of pen, your armor's going to mean jack diddly squat. They have basically better DPM than you for the most part, and will hit you way harder, and you just sit there going, oh, and you have every chance to bounce on them, and they don't have every chance to bounce on you, which, can be frustrating. But if you're going against things like tier 9s and tier 8s, and some of the, even, tier 10 heavies and tier 10 medium tanks that are firing standard, you'll have a pretty decent time as long as they're not shooting your... Sorry, was that a ricochet on the 4005? Come on, game! What was that? Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, you can get quite a lot out of the tank, and I do enjoy it for that reason. What do I run in terms of a crew, though, on the old Ho-Ri 3? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, the exact same as I do on the Tier 9, and that's because I want to make the accuracy better on the tank with the Steady Aim, make it so that the gun doesn't bloom out quite as much with the Run and Gun, although I do think you might actually get away with not running that. Clutch Braking to be able to make the tank turn quicker, the Silent Driving and the Camouflage Expertise to make the camo absolutely fabulous, so that you can get the really good, well, not even really good, but the decent camo that you can get it down to at 297 meters of still concealment. And then in terms of equipment, I run the Advanced Loader, the Camo Net and Optics. The Advanced Loader to make the DPM 10% better, the Camo Net to get it down to that 297 meters of still concealment, and Optics to be able to get my view range up to 512 meters, which helps me to get quite a lot of spotting and to be able to spot a lot of the tanks that I want to face, and thus I'll be able to keep this tank at greater distances and spot at further distances to be able to use the decent camo and just keep slapping them before they realise what's happening, pretty much, which is why I do it. But to be honest, instead of optics, if you wanted to, you could run vents, which will make everything about the tank better, which is definitely an option, you know, because you still get 476 meters of view range with vents, which is still pretty good. It's down to you and how you want to kit out the tank. And also, I would very much consider track mechanic instead of something like run and gun, because at tier 10, getting your tracks blown off can be a bit of a pain, and there's a lot of tanks that can perma-track you, and there's a lot of times where you might repair your gun, because your gun tends to take a lot of hits in this, by the way, just because of how big it is. And you might repair it and then you get instantly tracked, which is a bit awkward. Because the amount of times you get perma-tracked, that can be death very, very easily, and, you know, you'll end up zeroing out a bit painfully. So track mechanic is also definitely very much an option. But yeah, this Ho-Ri 3, it has 305 penetration on this standard AP round on the 14.9cm gun. And you've also got 360mm of penetration on the premium AP rounds, because it is premium AP. It does say in-game that it's APCR, but that's because they just don't have an icon or have it coded to say AP in premium AP as opposed to APCR, so that's what it's just been that way since 6.0 for premium AP rounds. But yeah, you've got 360mm of penetration, which is really solid, and 90mm of penetration for the HE rounds as well, which is pretty damn great too. And that first game was a fairly average game for the Ho-Ri 3, which we finished the game with 2 kills, 3.6, nearly 3.7k damage, 1200 assistance, fair bit of blocks as well, and the 1144 base XP. I'll say a fairly average game there for the Ho-Ri 3, just showing what you can do in a decent matchup. And, you know, again, it's just it's not anything too crazy of a game. It just sets your expectations of what you can sometimes get out of the tank in that regard. And we're on to the second replay. And the second replay, we are on this map, which is Kasserine? Yeah, maybe. I think Kasserine. It is Kasserine. Of course it's Kasserine. Well, I mean, oh, you know, brain, it's fine. You know, you just struggle with it. And we are going to go to F3. We're going to go to F3 so that we can shoot across the JK line. I want to shoot across the JK line because, as you're seeing at the minute, which is quite nice, is that one of my light tanks is going to go spot it up. And because we have that 297 meters of still concealment, we will be a bit of a struggle to get spotted. And plus, we will slap out with a 700 alpha gun. And the gun is pretty consistent. I mean, with the build that we've got at the minute, we do have a 2.3 second aim time, which, like I say, you don't feel, because you've got the 0.78 accuracy during rotation and the 1.26 accuracy during movement with the build I've got. This gun, as you've just seen from full tilt, doesn't bloom whatsoever. So you just don't feel the aim time. You're always ready to go. And that is definitely a joy for the Ho-Ri 3. It's just how fabulous this gun is. And with 0.29 accuracy with the build as well, it just means that you aren't going to miss that many shots, realistically. A lot of the time when you miss, obviously RNG does like to take the wheel and say, flaw. Does happen. But most of the time, for me, if you're probably going to miss in this tank, it's probably going to be user error because, well, you end up mis-aiming it. Which you're probably going to see in this video at times, because my aim is pretty atrocious sometimes. And you can end up missing some silly shots. And because you've got to watch the limit on the gun traverse, which is 10 degrees each way, sometimes because it doesn't traverse that far either to the left or right, it can be a bit awkward, and it's quite easy to overturn, if you know what I mean. So when you're trying to find the target, you can end up swinging past them sometimes, and you end up missing your chance to get the shot in. And that is just a little bit awkward sometimes for the Ho-Ri, but that's something that you also have to contend with for the Ho-Ri 1 and the Ho-Ri 2 as well. This tank does have 900 meters a second shell velocity, by the way, on the standard AP, with 1150 on the premium AP, which means that your actually velocity for this kind of gun is actually pretty damn nice. It means that at good ranges, you do have to lead still, but you don't have to lead quite as much as some of the other guns that have this kind of alpha. So what you're seeing at the minute is me trying to pick out that Tyran. We know where that Tyran is. You've just seen him get spotted again. We know where he is. But I want that guy dead. That guy has to die. But we do actually get a cheeky shot into the FV215B183. And the Conway gets a shot at us with Hesh, and thankfully doesn't pen us with that Hesh. But I want that Tyran to die because that Tyran is going to be a pain to spot, I'm never really going to spot it unless he fires, and even then I'll have to be pretty close to be able to spot it. So I'm just going to keep popping blind shots to see if I can hit it. You see we're failing to hit him quite a few times. It's, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But the moment we do decide to fire and hit him will be a glorious time. And we missed that second, well, that's probably the 5th shot I've taken so far at this Tyran. But yeah, I just want it gone, because, again, if he hits me for 950, he has better DPM than I have, just generally a better gun, penetration that's better, he has better mobility, he has a turret, he has worse armor than me, naturally, but he also has absolutely broken camo, which is just an absolute pain to deal with, and I don't want to take a hit from that Tyran if I can help it. So we want to get rid of it, but if we can keep getting shots towards things like this FV215B, that is glorious. As you can see, the shot went straight into the turret roof of the FV215B, and the 305mm of penetration had absolutely zero problems. So we'll pop another shot towards the Tyran. No cigar this time, doesn't happen. We're at 3.5k damage with 408 assistance, and that Conway's moved up. That Conway has moved up to H4, and I was thinking, oh, he's going to pop up, he's going to spot me, and it's not going to go too well. I don't want that. I don't want to die at this point, so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to pull back. But actually, what I decided to do instead is push a little bit more aggressively. We're going to push up to the next ridgeline, get closer to the Conway, and see if we can get the shot into the Tyran once again. So we pop the blind shot. Good night, Mr. Tyran! Let's go! Always glorious. I mean, what? That may have been the... Well, I don't know. It might have been like the 20th attempt, but we got him! Again, we knew he was going to be somewhere along those gaps, because there was the gaps where that people can shoot you from. So I just took the risk, took the gamble, and we actually got rid of him, which is always superiorly satisfying when you manage to get those blind shots to pay off, right? We've now come around on the Conway. We pop a shot straight in, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Conway, you're going to drive out in front of my friends. And we shove him out in front of the Tyran, and he shuts him down. We're up to 4.7k damage with 408 assistance. We're now going after the FV215B if we don't crash into the 4005. It's like, hello, Mr. FV. Good night, Mr. FV. And we shut down the FV215B there with an auto-aim shot into his side, leaving just 3 tanks left alive on the enemy team. There is the artillery. Okay, I beg my pardon. The artillery is dead to the tortoise. There is a TD and a heavy tank. And we were pretty sure there was a TD somewhere over here behind some rocks. So we're just seeing if we could spot it, get after it, but no cigar. And I'm thinking, okay, there is nothing over here then. Right. Let's go back towards our base because, well, maybe they're coming down the A line, the B line, going towards our cap. And if they go towards our cap, we're a little bit too far away. So I want to try and get closer if I humanly can do, because then if they do go towards our cap and try and cap it out, we can just interrupt them and stop them. And as we're crossing this gap, the TD over there ends up finding the Type 4 Heavy. The TD also gets spotted at H0. So we're going to go after this Type 4. With 305 penetration, I shouldn't have too much problem. So we aim for his turret, his side cheeks. And of course, the shot goes high and hits the turret face and doesn't pen. We've loaded premium because 360 penetration shouldn't have a problem with the Type 4 Heavy because, well, the Type 4 Heavy armor is poo against that kind of AP pen. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe Type 4 Heavy is OP. Maybe its armor's crazy. Maybe it's just going to bounce every... Oh, okay, he's dead. Oh, well, you know. It had to happen eventually, Mr. Type 4. Had to happen eventually. And we finished the Type 4 Heavy off with that shot. And we finished with the victory. We've come second on the team with 3 kills, 4.9k damage, 666 assist. The number of the beast. He's the devil. Shut him down. Thank goodness that screen has gone because we're getting close to having to perform an exorcism there. Anyway. Finished the game with a really nice total there on that second game. And now we're on to the third game. This third game, we're on Pilsen, which is definitely a map that more suits the old Ho-Re 3 because you can play Peekaboo quite well on this map, and obviously it's a little bit closer encounter. This tank does definitely succeed a bit more when you are playing the close encounters, just because of how the gun is. And that ability to play the Peekaboo playstyle is definitely a Peekaboo tank, because you do have the armor, you can bounce quite a lot, you've already seen that in these replays, but at the same time, you don't want to be outright trying to rely on it, because if the moment you try to rely on it is the moment that people will just press A and your armor becomes perfectly worthless, which is sad times for the Ho-Ri 3. So playing the Peekaboo is definitely the way. Oh, that was a nice shot on that 263 on the cross. Great times. So yeah, we're going to try and come across to this position at D4. And I was thinking about going to D4 and shooting the people that usually sit at C5 and shooting the other people that cross. But we were a bit too slow to catch the crosses. And they've got 4 tanks now that have cut across this B line to B2 and B4. So what we're actually going to do is pressure the TDs. We know there's a 263 somewhere. And I figured because he was so aggressive, he's possibly on the left next to the building. So you can see me looking going, I don't want to attack this Foch in case the 263 just decides to go, hello, my friend, I'm a Soviet TD with a big gun. And, you know, then it hurts. But the 263 is actually popping over. We're aiming the shot in straight through his upper plate. And he's basically lost most of his hit points. So I was like, 4005, kill it. But he's dead to the Waffle Panzer IV before we reload. We're now going to poke around this corner and see if we can get some shots into the Foch. It's like, hello, Mr. Foch. Oh, boy, we're sliding on the ridgeline. That's kind of awkward. We're sliding. We pull back after getting the shot through the little machine gun port on the Foch. And once again, we're going to play that Peekaboom life. You know, we're making it as hard as possible for this guy to hit us, which, naturally, of course, he just puts the shot straight through our upper plate. But, I mean, our upper plate can be bouncy because it's pretty well angled, but at the same time it's only 100mm thick, so depending on how we end up, especially if people shooting slightly down on you, your armor does become fairly poo on this upper plate. But don't count it out. Don't, especially if you're shooting at this thing, don't think, oh, it's only got 100mm upper plate, it's going to easily be penetrated on the upper plate. No, you'll ricochet because the angle is quite acute. But the lower plate is purely poo, and yeah, is only 120mm of thick, and it's not that well angled, so you will go through the lower plate. But anyway, we saw the people coming after our base, and we've gone back to help. The Death Star drives round, and we bounce. But thankfully, our Griller and Type 5 didn't. That could have been quite awkward. Now the 268 version 5 comes after us. He ricochets his heat round because we managed to swivel just in time and we absorbed it into our tracks. And we put a shot straight through his lower plate. I didn't expect the 268 version 5 to just YOLO around the corner, especially when he saw that I had a Griller and a Type 5. But we got lucky, like I say, that he ended up ricocheting the heat round, or the heat round got absorbed into my tracks. We go for the shot into the Tortoise's cupola, and that one flew over, I think. I'm not quite sure. It was one of those where it's like, I think that flew over. I think it just missed, which RNG just took the wheel and went, no! No, you're not allowed to shoot the poor tortoise. We do not allow cruelty to animals around here. Okay? And that's what RNG did. And, yeah, pain. But they've got 6 tanks left. The game is still a bit on a nice edge. It's 8-6. I mean, they are down on tanks, but at the same time, only by 2. Which means that this game could swing at any point, but now the VK7201K has been shut down by the Griller. We tried to get a snapped RBRT into the E4, but it sadly missed. I mean, there was very little chance of that shot hitting, but, you know, again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? It's one of those things. Now we know that the TDs are at the end of the road, so we're just going to go after them. The Waffle Panzer IV, if he drives out, will give me a free shot, and my 140 can shoot it. The Murat just drives straight out, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Murat, don't mind if I do track. And we got all the tracking assist on that guy, as well as a big shot into him. We're now nearly reloaded. It's like, Mr. E4, you can shoot me if you want, and I'll just pen your lower plate. And we get lucky that he didn't pen us, but also we bounced on his lower plate. But we've got a better reload, so, well, you know, bang. Good night, Mr. E4 on the lower plate. We have a better reload by only just a fine margin, but we did manage to get rid of him, thankfully. I knew I'd have the better reload because naturally I've got 700 alpha, he's got 850, and we both fired at basically the same time, so I was pretty confident that I was going to get the chance to fire again. And we did manage to get the shot into him, and now we're looking for the shot into this light tank who's crossing the open. It's like, hello, are you going to drive in front of my gun? Thank you, Mr. T-54 what lightweight. How kind of you. And we shut down the T-54 lightweight as well. The tank destroyer is currently going after the M53-55, and the Ho-Ri one does shut down the American artillery from the opposite team. And thus we finish the game with the victory. 3 kills, 5.7k damage, 988 assistance, the first class, the high caliber, for 1,416 base XP. A pretty decent game there, again, for the Ho-Ri 3 on Pilsen. showing you that the tank, when I say that the armour is pretty good on this tank, it is pretty good on this tank. It's just one of those that, like I say, you don't really want to truly rely on it and think, aha, I am big armour man, I bounce everything, because it's not going to happen. And there's no real armour on this tank that you can sit there and go, I'm going to sit in front of this tank and it's never going to pen me, because that's just not true. They will find a way. But it has a lot of nice armour to the point where you will ricochet a lot of shots, and people will, especially if they don't take the time to aim, will be able to bounce shots on you. You're not just pure paper, which is great. And then add to the fact that your gun has very good penetration and is very accurate, and that means that if they miss their chance to shoot at you, you're a lot of the time going to get the chance to go straight through them, which is glorious. And add to that you do have, on this tank, 7 degrees of gun depression as well, which means that on a ridgeline, like you're going to see here on Live Oaks, it can be a little bit handy at times. You can actually go hull down with this vehicle. The gun's positioned quite high on the chassis too, which means when you poke over, you're only exposing the superstructure, and the superstructure, while going hull down, can be pretty damn effective. So we are on Live Oaks in this final replay of this video, and we have pushed the dip. Live Oaks is dip or die. If you do not take this dip from our spawn, you will probably lose, because you'll get trapped at G0, and it just doesn't go well. If we're honest, it just doesn't go well. You want to take this dip, because then you can push the pace of the enemy team, you can push the momentum, you know, all the good stuff. So we've got an SDRVK, we've got a shot straight through the nice Terran. We look for the turret cheek of the Terran, and we put the shot straight through, because the Terran? The SDRVK. We put the shot straight through the turret of the SDRVK, because that thing is kind of sad, as you've just seen again. Oh no, that poor guy. The turret on the SDRVK is just a little bit frustrating, because it's a Centurion 7-1 turret, right? But for some reason, it just doesn't bounce anything. It always catches shots, and you've seen me put a shot straight through it. Another heat round flew from behind me and penned straight through the poor guy's turret. And it's one of the frustrations for me of playing the SDRVK, is the fact that turret front, while it feels like it should be really good hull down, it just really isn't. And it always catches really awkward, annoying shots that you just get penned through, and you sit there going, oh, but why? Come on. And you've seen it right there. It's one of the reasons I don't like the SDRVK myself. Although it is fairly decent after the buffs these days anyway. But we tried to get a shot towards the Minotauro that's at the back, because we did get a shot through his lower plate, but we missed. Well, we hit the bridge that was there. And my team's pushed into the dip in front, and we're going to try and get to what... That was lucky! That was lucky. We're going to push forward to see if we can get towards this Type 5 and Highlander, etc. We'll load the Premium AP, because we do need that for the Type 5 Heavy. And yeah, we got very lucky there that shot hit that Terran, because, well, I probably shouldn't have hit that Terran, realistically. RNG just took the wheel again and said, hey, here, have a kill! And it's like, thank you, Mr. RNGesus, I love you too, sir. I love you too. And we got the kill. We're up to 3.1k damage with that kill. And I do want to try, I have noticed the base is falling, but once again, I don't want this flank to stall. So what I'm trying to do is get some shots in somewhere and progress this flank so that we can win it and turn around. And this is where I've decided, yeah, because, okay, the base is screwed, I need to be aggressive. I can't just sit and be passive, because being passive is where it's going to go wrong. So we get an AP shell straight through the cupola there of the Type 5 Heavy, which is a little, well, I say a little bit fortunate. We've got 360 pen, so 360 pen is going to go through that. But shooting at the cupola of a Type 4 or a Type 5 Heavy is definitely a very awkward thing at times, especially with shooting up at it slightly like we were, because of how well-rounded the cupola is. A lot of the time, you will actually ricochet off of that. You've got to be very, very careful shooting at that weak spot, because it sometimes isn't quite a weak spot. So we get a shot through the side of the Minotauro's turret. I could have gone in on the TD here, the E4, but the Minotauro was giving us a free shot, and that Minotauro is in a kind of a god spot for his tank. He gave us the free shot into the side of his turret, which is his bad, really. But he's in a perfect place for the Minotauro, because he is completely hull down. You can't see his lower plate or his upper plate, and he is laughing at you if he's getting shots at you. Which is why we dropped into the low ground, because we were never competing with that Minotauro where he was. But now the Minotauro's dead, and we've won this flank, we do have to go back for base. If we don't go back for base, it could go quite badly. But we've got quite a few of our team back here. And the thing with Live Oaks is that our cap, same as their cap really, is very very open. It's very, very out in the open, and there are plenty of spots that you can shoot it from. So if one person spots the cap, well, the cap is going to go very badly for you, and you're going to get shot to pieces. Capping is quite a difficult thing on Live Oaks, because, it's, like I say, just because of the fact that I can take a position along any part of these train tracks here along the 9-0 line, and I'll be able to get a free shot into the cap, and as long as someone spots it, and even then I can probably spot it from the train tracks if I get to about D9 or even E9, right? The thing in there is just going to die. And the Leopard PTA that came along here, along the 0 line, is dead, and our team is pushing up. We've got 42 seconds, so we've got a lot of time, and you can see I've just set up shot ready to go. So we put a shot down range towards the Moisture, and it flies straight into his side. He's now tracked straight onto us, which means we've got a beautiful shot straight towards his lower plate, waiting for the reload, which we put down range, and I'm not sure if we high rolled there. That was 823, but we did see a shot hit him just before, so we could have lost like 300-400 hit points and we just finished him off. But we end up finishing off the mouse in there. There's now 2 tanks left, and there, right there, is the gun traverse, and me turning the tank ever so slightly, so I didn't go off the ridge line. Because I tried to not drop onto that ridge line on the left, and I turned ever so slightly, and we've only got 10 degrees of gun traverse. The gun ended up swinging away a little bit from the Murat, and because I had to take the snapshot there on the Murat because he was getting closed down by our whole team, we ended up missing the shot, which means we missed the opportunity to shoot that bloke and put ourselves onto like 6.6k, which would have been really nice, but yeah, we missed that chance sadly. And that's where you got to be careful with your movements with the limited gun traverse, and that 10 degrees can be a little bit awkward. The the Waffle E100 nearly gave us a shot there, but just as he was about to drive out into the perfect place for us to shoot, he pulled back, because of course he did, and we didn't get the shot into him there either. And we finished the game with 3 kills, 6,027 damage, the first class, 1,440 base XP with 1,149 assistance. A really decent game there for the Ho-Re 3. I have aced the Ho-Re 3, but sadly you're not going to see that in this video, because once again, the Xbox DVR system corrupted the replay, which is a sad, sad time. I did like 7k and got an ace, which is sad that you don't get to see that. But this is the Ho-Re 3. I did enjoy the Ho-Re 3 very, very much. I do think it's a fairly well-balanced tank. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.